Inspired Conversations, episode number 10. Today's question: how do you show up in the world intellectually, emotionally, and physically? Yeah, I think it's really interesting listening this morning to Christie Marie Sheldon and how she breaks down us as people or beings, that we have three strong operating sides to being human, and they are intellectual, emotional, and physical. But I don't understand why we spend all those years in school and were only ever taught intellectual. There's very minimal physical education taught. Yes, you do sports, and they say it's, and you learn a few sports, but they don't really teach you the dynamics of the body and how the body works, how it heals itself, how your body works energetically, what nutrition you need. None of that's covered in our education. So when you finish school, even university, they don't teach that stuff unless you specialised in it. None of that stuff is taught. So really, and nobody tells us either that when we go into life that you need to know this stuff. And as a result, we end up absorbing a lot of this information through manipulation, through mainstream media, through television, through advertising. Oh, you need to use the ab cruncher if you want to have a six-pack. There's nothing further from it. An ab cruncher will never give you a six-pack.
But emotionally, that side of it as well, you end up taking on stuff from people who have no idea. You're just taking on all these, ways of being, and the discussion around, how to handle situations like emotionally, because we all feel things in situations, but we just don't know how to handle them. Yeah. And so, why? That's just so much part of life. It's...
Our emotions are a huge part of life, especially being a guy. You're not supposed to express your emotions. You're not supposed to speak about your emotions. You're just meant to be this strong, stoic, I can conquer everything. I'm a warrior. And yet it's the same. We are taught so much intellectual information. And people go to university and then cram their heads even more full of intellectual information. And that has its place. Scientists, physicists, doctors, you need all that information. But there's a greater side to it. We all need emotional training. We all need emotional education. We all need physical education. Emotional education, as you said, is a huge, huge one, because what you learn is what you pick up from home. And that's not necessarily the way the world is. That is the way it is at home, and it is for that reason, so that you can become aware of those things and you can start to question life based on what you experienced at home. You can go out into life and either keep playing out those same patterns or go beyond those patterns and go, well, no, I'm actually going to, make some of my own patterns. But there's still not much real education on how to learn that. And for me, I guess when I first came to Australia, as a young man, I did well at school, but realised I knew nothing when it came to life. And it was, and I guess at the time I went and found, I went to spiritual workshops where they taught, lots of spiritual things. And it was, again, that was a little bit biased in another direction, as opposed to combining it to the fact that we are, a whole being. Yes, we are intellectual, we are emotional, and we are physical. And, this went a bit too much on the spiritual side of things. A lot of the books at the time were very spiritual. They were almost like the opposite of real life.
Well, you need the combination. You need practical, spiritual, grounded things that you can just do in your life, but are looking after your soul, your being, but are just not all up in the clouds. It's just practical spirituality. But it's just normal, because everyone really, that's part of feeling good in yourself. That's looking after yourself. Really, I see just spirituality as looking after yourself, taking care of yourself.
Emotionally and physically and intellectually.
Yeah, and listening to yourself and being guided by yourself. It's not something that is, like so far, oh, that's so spiritual. It's just a normal, everyday thing that, we all go through, and is healthy for all of us.
So, even thinking about intellectual education, we don't really receive a rounded intellectual education, or at least I didn't. It was a lot of facts and figures, history, maths, science, engineering, all that sort of stuff, as opposed to intellectual information about life, about the world.
There's also emotional intelligence as well, which is very much knowing, I guess, how to handle situations in life. Not blow up and blame and, all of that kind of stuff. Emotional intelligence is really important for living a happy life, a happy, successful life.
Absolutely. And from that, it's also having inspiration, like filling your mind with more intelligence or more intellect, but it can come from inspirational point of view rather than just, I think a lot of our education that continues after school comes in the form of television, in the forms of soap drama or movies or, so you're absorbing a lot of information about the world based on what you see on the news. And that's a very narrow aspect, and it's not aspirational. There's very little hope. It all seems disastrous and the world's coming to an end. So whereas it's the opposite of that. I mean, there is so much going on in the world, and good news is never or hardly ever makes it to television. So it's, in terms of improving our intelligence, it's being inspired every day, having some form of inspiration, having some way of connecting our emotions, and also having some way of taking action through our physical body, having looked after our body, or knowing how to look after our body, knowing how to energetically.
Well, I love what she said about, the body holds on to emotions and, I guess, was it the...
Thoughts
and
emotions and thoughts get stuck in our body.
Yeah, and so that's why it's important to look after your body by getting massage. I love Bowen, acupressure is really good, or acupuncture. All of those things to help release and help the body
blocked energy,
flow, yoga, just even exercise, going to the gym, getting everything moving within the body. Like, it's so important. That's a way to release blocked energy. And it's just by getting active or, lying there and enjoying a beautiful massage, It's such a good thing to do for your body. It's part of looking after yourself and nurturing yourself.
Yeah, so really it's super important that as we go through life, we are continually educating ourselves on an intellectual level with inspirational concepts, thoughts, books.
Yeah.
We're continuing to understand and know our emotions and improve our relations with people, because it's embracing emotional intelligence, and continue, especially as you get older and the body changes in metabolism and etc. And as we become more aware of food groups, food types, what's good for us, bad for us.
Yeah.
So those three areas are so important on an ongoing basis to keep studying in order to have an amazing life.
Yeah.